Now, the great rivalry between Liverpool and Manchester United takes centre stage for the first time this season. The champions, Liverpool, will be eager to get back to winning ways, while United are chasing their first victory at Anfield since 2016.
Arne Slot team pick up where they left off. Last season's champions. New faces, new shirts, same burning desire. The crown is polished. Summer fly. Liverpool's title defence begins with a red-hot roar.
Some close shaves, relying on late goals for victories. A lot of new personnel at the moment. That disruption is showing.
Blasted by Saar. It's Nketiah. Absolutely phenomenal. Crystal Palace have toppled the champions.
Arne Slot finding the early season going a little trickier than last season.
Caicedo
Whacks it into the top corner. It's Esteval.
There's a desperation to stop the rot here. But of all the visitors that could be coming to Anfield today,
it just had to be the old enemy, Manchester United.
Well, one of the biggest games on the English football calendar. Liverpool in a mini slump by their standards. Is this the right time to play Manchester United? Or will United be looking at Liverpool saying, oh, it's the right time for us to play there?
I think United will be looking at Liverpool as saying it's the right time. And that might run counter to what I've said on the show before, but I just think that Liverpool always show United far too much respect. United are open, they're ponderous, they make mistakes against other teams, but they always bring their A game to this fixture precisely because it is such a huge fixture and the fans demand that they're on point, ready. They do not want to lose. Now, the record, what is it, 1 win in the last 10 years that United have had over Liverpool, but a lot of those games have been drawn because Liverpool, for some reason, they're mortals against Manchester United, and I think this could well be another game that is a bit of an anticlimax.
Oh, okay, early predictions in already.
I'm not referring to the quality of the game, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I'm referring more to...
by that.
Oh, you mean it's going to be business as usual?
Well, on paper, I would expect Liverpool to find the spacing behind Manchester United, the take advantage of the mistakes that United are prone to making. Whatever goalkeeper plays, you don't want to be facing this Liverpool side on the back of 3 defeats. But I still do think Liverpool show a lot of respect to Manchester United. And if you look at recent years when we've all expected Liverpool to really unload on United, they've not. For some reason, there seems to be some mystical force that prevents them from doing that.
I still feel like that 7-0 is very recent. That still feels a little painful for me.
I think it does for them too.
I do want to talk, Rachel, since you're the defensive expert here on this panel, about the Liverpool defence. Because there have been some issues of late. Konate is not looking like the player he was alongside Van Dijk last season. Someone like Kirkes, for example, hasn't settled in quite the way you expect him to. What's really going on with Joe Gomez? You know, Arne Slot, does he trust him?
Yeah, it's been an interesting one. I think the nature of the goals at times, a little bit, it goes back to it's less of like a shape or a structural thing. More for me, it's sometimes just the small details of defending. And I think, you know, this Liverpool team have had so much success. Yes, a couple of new players come in, for example, Kirkes, as you mentioned. But it's the small details there. You know, we're so used to seeing Liverpool, especially in set plays, first contact, second contact, clear the box, counter-attack. Those are sort of attitude type things, or they're the little details of, I'm going to choose to show my opponent down the line, or I'm going to choose to delay them, or the ball's out for a throw, and let's get back into shape quickly so they have to throw it backwards and we're organised. And I think, obviously been the international break, but I think they will be very focused on just getting those small details right and just saying, let's really limit the opportunities. Let's make sure we're really tight. If teams are going to score against us, it's going to be a great goal.
Yeah, well, Arne Slot has been speaking about Liverpool's defensive record and the goals they've conceded this season.
In all 3 games, we had to come back from being 1-0 down. In 2 games, we managed to do so. But unfortunately lost in the end, where we were having chances in both games, maybe more than our opponent, to win it. But if you've lost 3 in a row, it doesn't matter if Man United is coming or Brentford next week. There should always be a reaction.
talk about that Liverpool defence, just from your point of view. And as mentioned, conceding goals, which we don't normally see them.
See, this is part of the reason why I don't think this is going to be the demolition that has so often been the case in these Manchester United years, where they've been so open, so porous, so uncertain in their back line, because Liverpool have got problems of their own. You've just summed it up so well. And I think in that forward line of Manchester United, they will be looking to get at Liverpool. And it's going to be an uncertain Liverpool. 3 defeats in a row. They're going to be fragile. Their confidence is going to be fragile. He doesn't know what his best team is yet. So, whereas before, all eyes were on United and wondering at what point the dam will burst. Now we're wondering, well, are Liverpool susceptible to a Bruno Fernandes 35-yard strike, a lapse in concentration at set pieces? You mentioned Konate already. There are individuals in that back line. He's tried Szoboszlai at right back. He's tried Frimpong at right back. Conor Bradley at right back. None of them seem to work as yet. These are still early days. I'm not saying Liverpool are a bad side by any stretch of the imagination, but they're wounded, and we cannot now take victory for granted for Liverpool against United.
You mentioned an interesting point about his best side, and I think some of those questions around Florian Wirtz, for example, he became one of the big talking points. They did drop him for the Chelsea game to the bench, and they lost that game. What would Arne Slot have been doing during the international break? Would he have been thinking about, perhaps, should I play 2 up top? Should I change things? What do you reckon?
I don't think he'll change his shape. I think one of the most frustrating things is when you have these runs, it goes into the international break, and then for Liverpool, they lose so many of their players to the window, to go away with the national team, which is brilliant to one degree, because it means you've got some of the best players at your mercy. But it means when you're coming off bad results and you've things you've got to address and you want to get a little bit of fluency, you lose that opportunity, because as soon as you come back, you have very little time going into this weekend. They probably get a slight advantage because it is the Sunday kickoff. Naturally, the focus on Wirtz has been, fairly, or had a lot of scrutiny, and I think that's just because when you come for such a price tag, there is the expectation you hit the ground running. I don't think he's necessarily played poorly, but people are going, I want goals, I want assists, I want you to create chances. Also, opposition are going, this guy's new, so let's make sure we get in about, don't give him any time, make sure he realises this is the Premier League, welcome to it. So he's probably in a difficult position because the scrutiny's on him, people are looking at him, and it's not quite gone for him. There's no doubt he's a very, very good player.
Yeah, there is no doubt. The international break has been fairly kind to them. So I think there were concerns about Konate. There were concerns about Gravenberch, both of whom have trained McAllister. Some of Liverpool's players were playing in very unusual positions during the international break. I think McAllister played on the wing, for example. So as I mentioned, very kind to them in the international break. Will Slot be looking at any of those and thinking, maybe I should...
I doubt that. I think what he might well be doing is looking at going back to basics, because obviously he's bought all of these stellar players, but they are going to need time to adapt. You would know far more than I would in terms of what it's like when you integrate new players into a side, and when you're trying to integrate too many players into a side at the same time. And that might well be part of what the problem is for Liverpool. But I think, as far as United are concerned, they'll be buoyed by the 2-0 win over Sunderland. They'll be buoyed by the fact that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has come out and backed Rúben Amorim. That is key, because a lot of people were predicting the beginning of the end for him, but the owner coming out and saying, no, this is my guy, and committing himself to saying 3 years. I mean, Mexican wave of eyebrows with that one, let me tell you, because on the basis of his form, if they were to win this game, it would be the first time since Amorim arrived that they've won back-to-back Premier League games. That is astounding. At Real Madrid, they would sack you, call you back and sack you again, but at Manchester United, he's got the time. I think they go into this game with a lot of confidence, so that Liverpool should be wary of them.
Yeah, there's a poor guy who's going to have Rapunzel-like locks, because he said when United win 5 in a row, he's going to cut his hair.
He's probably there going, for the love of...
The 3 years comment, which did happen during this international break from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, what did you make of those? I thought it was saying patience, and we can't just judge him. I don't know that there was a promise that he's definitely going to be given 3 years, but in an ideal world, he will be, and he should be.
I think in some ways it's refreshing, because I think we're in a place whereby managers are just, I'm sure we'll touch on it down the line, but we just churn through managers that are said and put out there are very unsavoury. I'm surprised how patient they have been. But at the same time, I think there is an understanding that, well, since Ratcliffe's come in, there's been a lot of change at the football club. There's a big focus on the finances and sustainability and changes. Some have been popular, some not so much. He's choosing to keep with the manager, and I think in some ways, coming out and saying that outwardly, it helps people at home, people that weigh in, people that want to sort of lean into the media and try and put pressure on. He's saying, I'm not bothered by that. I'm not going to listen. He's the person I want, and I'm going to make that decision. So that's it. I think it's a good thing for that reason. Whether he is the guy, his results haven't been hugely impressive so far.
Well, the win over Sunderland was critical, of course. Let's look at Manchester United's next couple of fixtures just to see what lies in store for them. You know, no game, as we always say, is easy in the Premier League, but there should be some that they would be expecting to win in that run?
No. No. And I don't want to be disrespectful about Manchester United, because obviously it's a good thing that Sir Jim has come out and backed Rúben. But I look at all of those games, and in all of those teams, there are goal scorers. There are players who can hurt the lack of concentration in that Manchester United back line. And I think, yeah, we talk about Liverpool's defensive failings, but they have players who can win games on their own. Look, 3 at the back, for me, I defer to your greater knowledge, but it simply is not what Manchester United play. Manchester United are an attack-minded side who are at their best with 4 at the back. So you have the extra player who can attack the opposition. And as long as they stick with that, Amorim will be under pressure.
Interesting when you mentioned 3 at the backs, and Crystal Palace is also in that run. They'll be able to see firsthand.
How to do it properly.
You said it, not me. Okay, now Rúben Amorim has been speaking about the importance of winning the next game and how long it might take to reach Liverpool's level of success.
We can win any game. So if we think about just winning the next game, that is the most important thing. We can win the next game. If we are winning, if we are going to fight and to be at the same level of Liverpool in the future, that is the idea. I don't know how long it is going to take.
Yeah, very, very tough. And I think, honest from him at the moment. There are some signs for positivity, though, because Benjamin Šeško, for example, is one of those players who's new into the league and he's now scored in back-to-back games. That's good for them.
He's doing well. And I think when you look at United, a lot of teams now play them with a little bit of confidence, and so at times can be quite open. And I think he's a great person to be in that 9, because I think he does have the attributes where you can play up to him, you can play off him. And he's found his sort of rhythm in terms of actually getting goals. That was a great finish. So I think that's a huge advantage that they do have him, and he does seem to have a little bit of form, and he's got big presence.
When you're a centre-back and you play against him, and he is so big, but he is good, he knows where to pick up good positions. And Julie, you were talking about the fact that Konaté's confidence is a bit fragile at the moment. What do you do as a centre-half when you've got to cope with somebody like Šeško?
I think someone like Konaté and Van Dijk both physically will feel like they can compete with his size.
Right.
So I think that will be interesting, because I think that might be a little bit of cat and mouse throughout the game. If I was him, I probably would put myself on Konaté a little more, given he's made a few little mistakes, and maybe you can get something out of that. The physicality, though, in that game, I think he's able to compete with that. So if United can drop balls in that are not overhit, anything overhit that's just up for challenge will likely be the defenders, because that favours them. But he's got the stature where you can drop it into him, and the only way they can get the ball back from a Liverpool perspective is to foul. So United have to just be clever and give him the opportunity to grow into the game. Yeah. If he's not getting any service, to expect him to contribute and create chances and get a goal will be really tough. But if he can get into the game and he can help the United move forward and progress through the thirds, then I think they'll get opportunities.
What's another interesting factor about this game is the 2 goalkeepers. Yeah. So, of course, Sen Alaman's featured against Sunderland, kept a clean sheet, and Mamardashvili is going to play because Alisson is injured.
Mamardashvili, of the 2 goalkeepers, is the more confident for me and the more capable. Sen Alaman's has got a big reputation. Thibaut Courtois was talking about him during the international break and was speaking of him very, very highly indeed. But I don't care who you are, to come in and have to face the likes of Isak, Ekitike, Salah, and if he were to go back to basics and maybe go with some of the tried and trusted players and maybe drop the likes of Wirtz and go back to a formation that has suited him last season, it could be a very, very difficult afternoon for Lamens. And let's not kid ourselves, not just media. Sometimes people say the media will give him a hard time. We are Planet Football. Everyone is on social media. Everyone has an opinion. In real time, there is huge pressure on whoever keeps goal for Manchester United. And for Lamens to have to deal with the threat that Liverpool pose up front. 99 goals in 45 games under Arne Slot. The next one's going to be there. Well, it's obvious, that one.
Mr. Statman.
Teaching everyone how to count. But, you know, they do know where the goal is. For all their defensive frailties, they do know where the goal is, and that's why it's going to be a difficult afternoon for the keeper.
Thank you, George. Afternoon, Rúben. I know you always talk about how much in contact you are with the leadership here, the likes of Sir Jim, Jason. Sir Jim had some really positive comments for you over the break, really backing you. How do you feel when you see those type of comments?
He tell me all the time, sometimes with a message after games. But I know, and Jim knows that football is not like that. So the most important thing is the next game. You cannot control, even with owners, you cannot control the next day in football. So I know that, but it's really good to hear that. Also because of the noise, but he tells me, and Omar and Jason tell me that all the time.
In terms of your vision for this club, does it help when they say that? Because they've also said, or Omar said, that it didn't start the way that everybody expected, including you. And nobody knows how long it's going to take. Nobody knows what happens on Sunday. Does it help that you know that they believe in what you are trying to do?
First of all, I can feel it. It's not just that thing that people talk, but I feel it in every day. And again, sometimes the pressure that I put on the team or on myself is so much bigger than them. I know that is going to take a while, but I don't want to think like that. I said that last year. But of course, again, it's really good to hear that. I think it helps also our fans to understand that the leadership understands that it's going to take a while. But at the same moment, I don't like that, because we'll give a feeling that we have time to work things out. So I don't want that feeling here in our club. Again, the most important thing is the next game. It's good to feel the support, but we need to prove in football, and especially in big clubs, that in every weekend we are ready to win games.
Hi Rúben. This will be the 100th match at Anfield between Liverpool and Manchester United. It's a game with an awful lot of history. Your history, I think your first visit there as a player maybe could have been better, but your most recent was possibly one of your highlights here so far.
Yeah, it was. I remember we play well. Was a draw. I was really upset in the end of the game. Because we proved in that day that we can compete against any opponent. I know that is special for our club. I know that they are fighting all the time for the titles, the number of titles. I know what it means to the fans. But again, is one game that we need to prove again that we are playing better. I think we are playing better. We need to do better in both boxes. So it's one more game that we need to win.
Okay.
Hi Rúben. The results and the performances against the so-called bigger teams have been quite good since you got here. What do you think the difference has been in those games compared to perhaps some of the other games?
Maybe I don't know, but maybe the expectations. When you have to win and the responsibility of winning, it's so much harder to play like that. That's why when you play in big clubs, you need to win every match, especially when people are expecting you to win. And we have some difficulties sometimes to deal with that. When people and you guys expect not Manchester United to win that game, maybe it's easier for the players to perform, and we need to change that. But to change that, we need to have confidence to win more games, to have more points, to feel more free to play the game. So I think that is the main reason.
Sorry.
Hi Rúben. I think there are 7 players who didn't train yesterday. Some of them were rested, had additional days off. But which players do you know won't be available for the weekend's game?
Licha is near, but it's almost returning to the trainings with the team. Mazraoui, I don't know.
Anfield is set to erupt this weekend as Liverpool and Manchester United lock horns in a fixture that never disappoints. But this time, it's more than just a rivalry. It's a test of nerve, form, and redemption. Liverpool, led by Arne Slot, are wobbling after 3 straight defeats, their worst run in years. With Alisson Becker ruled out and Georgi Mamardashvili in goal, questions hang over their defensive stability. Slot admits his side are leaking too many crosses, a weakness United will be desperate to exploit. Across the line, Rúben Amorim's Manchester United arrive under less pressure, but with plenty to prove. Injuries to Lisandro Martínez and Mazraoui threaten their backline. Yet the confidence from club co-owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe's public backing could spark a defiant response. Anfield has been a graveyard for United. Not a single league win here since 2016. But with Liverpool's £320 million attack misfiring and the Kop demanding a reaction, this could be the perfect storm for an upset. Expect fire, emotion, and maybe a little chaos, because when Liverpool meet Manchester United, the world stops to watch.